It's hard to just be white in South Africa.
Does that lady know that the 49 plus white Afrikaners that left South Africa on a huge lie and propaganda that they are stranded in the United States? Shh, don't tell her. Because she also seems to be making her way, but then she says no, she's not leaving South Africa because there is no such a thing as white persecution going on in South Africa. So guys, we are hearing news coming from the United States. I mean, these are the news that many South Africans have been waiting for some time now, because some of us understand how the United States work. Some of us understand how Americans operate, think, and also feel about things, especially things that are happening in the United States. So with all the food prices running sky high and Americans up in arms about the price of eggs, and then you're going to have a president, your own president, that opens a huge corridor to an entire propaganda of white persecution happening in South Africa. And while shutting the door on real issues like real genocide that is taking place in Yemen and South Sudan and elsewhere in the world, because you say national security, but you having refugees coming from an African country, and you're like, oh no, let's open the doors wide for them. As a matter of fact, let's fast track them into the United States citizenship. How is that working out? How is that working out? Anyways, guys, what am I talking about here? I am talking about the 49 plus white Afrikaners that left South Africa sometime earlier this year because of a propaganda that has been spread by right-wing politicians, right-wing organizations, not only in South Africa, but also abroad. Looks like Fox News, or whichever news channel that is out there in the United States, was also pushing the same agenda, to a point where the former buddy of the US President Donald Trump, Elon Musk, I believe, whispered in his ear that something like that is actually happening. And you have to ask yourself, what was the agenda behind? Because to me, it sounds like a intellectual manipulation on a man they misunderstood to be a trigger-happy president. I mean, why am I saying that? I mean, most of my life growing up, the United States was always involved in one war or another. Started most of it by them. So they thought, well, since y'all are trigger happy, you might actually send some boots to South Africa so that we can have a regime change and take South Africa back to its former colonizers, who, by the way, are still living opulence. That is the Afrikaans. Instead of the white G-side going on them, they are living lavishly in South Africa. When I say lavishly, I'm saying opulence here. And when you hear that the majority of South Africans and natives, they are living, you'll believe it when you hear of such horrendous propaganda perpetuated against the natives of South Africans. Now, guys, we need to go back in history just a little bit so that in order for you to understand how this opulence that many of them live, and when I say many, I'm talking the majority of them live. Yes, the same white Afrikaners that are being persecuted, G-sided in South Africa, they live opulently in South Africa. Now, the Afrikaners, of course, they are the descendants of French people, Germans, and most of them by the Dutch. Those come from the Netherlands. When they came and colonized South Africa, some people will call them settlers. Let's call a thing, right? They are colonizers. And of course, there were battles that took place in South Africa where the native South African was like, excuse me, you want me to do what for you? That's not going to happen. Like slavery. Black South Africans fought back, so much so that the colonizers had to go to like Malaysia and some parts of Asia, including China, to bring in slaves from there, because the black South African stood its ground and said, that's not going to happen, not us. However, because they're already seeing the type of mentality and the type of people we are, of course, they imported the colonial laws, your Roman Dutch law, into South Africa. And most of these laws were to benefit them one way or the other, by hook or crook, and mostly crook. And what did they do? They started unaliving livestock of native people and forcefully removing them of their lands and pushing them to inarable land, like land that is barren, while they took the fertile parts of the land. But of course, black South Africans fought back. And around 1940, it's not even 1940s at this point, in 1913, the government, now the Republic of South Africa, create a law called the 1913 Native Land Act. That act, my friends, evil to the core. And to this very day, that evil, when you come to South Africa, it's glaring at you, because over the years since 1994, it also manifested in one of the most unequal societies in the world. Yes, South Africa, literally, to see poverty and opulence, all that is separated by is a freeway. And it doesn't matter where you are in the country. You can literally cross over the freeway and you are with the wealthy people, and then the wealthy people don't cross to the poor side of the South African life, because they're wearing Gucci's and Louis Vuittons and Pringles and all of that stuff. They don't want to get stolen this side, because that's the mentality most of them have anyway. Because of the 1913 Native Land Act, that act, my friends, what it did was it gave the white Afrikaner every right, every power to go to any part of South Africa, and if they see a plot of land that they like, and it did not matter how big or small it was, then there are people staying there, they can forcefully remove them. And that's what happened. Black South Africans were forcefully removed from the only home and the only land they've always known as home, driven out forcefully. If they refused, they will be unalived, some of them. And this is a history they do not want you to know. As a matter of fact, they will deny this history to the core. And yet the evidence is right there by their own forefathers. It's called the 1913 Native Land Act. You can Google it, it's there. And those words, loud and clear, in as much as they will try to deny it, that they are the ones that genocided the people of the owners of that land, including their livestock, to forcefully remove them of their land. Now, what did this land do for these people? Of course, they came with their agricultural culture and they started creating farms, because the word boer, it basically means farmer in Afrikaans. That's what it means, farmer. So they then, all these farms that you see, or agriculture that you see in South Africa, 72% of that land is in the hands of the Afrikaners. Yes, the same people that are on the mountaintop globally saying that we are being genocided by black South Africans and we are seeking refuge in the United States. They live opulently in South Africa. Those of y'all that have been to South Africa know this, have seen this. And some of y'all have even questioned this. Like, how is this even possible in 2025? Yeah, that's because when South Africa negotiated its way into democracy, there was a process in the 90s, like 1992 or 1993, where the whites and the blacks agreed no more apartheid. We are going to go into democracy and everybody's going to vote. Everybody can live anywhere they want to in South Africa, go to school wherever they wanted, all that stuff. And one of the promises that were made was the land that were seized forcefully by the 1930 Native Land Act. To this very day, the same government has failed the black South Africans who lost their dignity, they lost their land, they lost their livestock. But instead, you are having the same people that stole the land from them going to Donald Trump and saying, oh, it is dangerous to be wild in South Africa. Clutching their pearls. It is dangerous to be black in South Africa. Period. Period. That's the truth. Dangerous. And you don't see us on the mountaintop trying to garner the world to support us against this atrocity that is going on against the black South Africans. And now it's no longer just white people endangering us. It's the criminals, it's illegal foreigners, even the government itself. We live in fear. I'm talking us. We live in fear. Because we don't live in gated communities like some, and let me say, most of these white Afrikaners do. They are protected 24/7 with private security. You have to fend for yourself. See how you get home at night when you come from work or looking for a job, or when you are actually at home and you are not safe. You're just gonna have to see what you do. But you don't see us running around begging the world to take us in as refugees because we are being persecuted. No, what they are trying to tell you is, yeah, the land that the black people are asking for, it's their land. And because we've been living on this and making wealth out of it, it feels as though we are under pressure and it's not nice to be white in South Africa no more because they're no longer in the protection of the apartheid government. And the owners of the land, they want their land back, rightfully so. But the only way that can be done is through the processes of the law. We have the Constitution, Section 25 is right there when it comes to land redistribution. They don't want you to know all about that. They don't want to know you to know how wealthy they actually are. Out of those 49 plus white Afrikaners that were taken in as refugees by Donald Trump, did you know that some of them had to sell properties for millions of dollars? But now as a refugee, you can't take that money with you. I think that's one of the reasons why they're struggling. And one of the guys there, I think he's Klein Hayes, he had 5-bedroom house. He exchanged it for a budget motel room. And I understand he is now a gardener. A job that he wouldn't have never done in South Africa as a white Afrikaner. That's a black man's job. Now that's true. In South Africa, when you're black, you are subjected to the low-end paying jobs as a maid, as a garden person, or in South Africa they call you a garden boy, a cleaner, street sweeper, all that stuff. They are doing that stuff in America. This is after a former South African lady who is pissed at them, but at the same time her humanity took over and she made a video and shared with the world how these people are actually struggling in the United States. And now they are living off donations. Imagine having all that money from a lie. And besides the lie, inheriting from theft, then you sell the land that your forefathers stole, then you hop on a plane and become a refugee. But as a refugee, you're not allowed to bring the money. So it's now stuck in South Africa. And you can't go back there because your life is in danger, remember? That is why you are taken as a refugee. And now you have to cram up in one tiny motel room in the United States without a phone, without an income, without the children going to school. By the way, these people's children go to some of the best schools in the country, private schools. That's what they gave up for a lie, for propaganda, because they wanted a regime change so that South Africa goes back in the hands of an Afrikaner. Yeah, it's sad. It's not sad. You made that bad lie on it. Listen, South Africa has a huge crime problem, and the crime affects all South Africans. It doesn't matter if you are black, white, Indian, or colored. We are affected. But I will tell you right now, like I just said previously, the most affected people in South Africa when it comes to crime are black people. We suffer the brunt of the end of the stick of that. Us black people. Why? Because everyone else live in gated communities with 24-hour security companies. Do you know that in South Africa we have more private security companies than we do the South African police force? Yeah, in South Africa. So where do you even get the time to unalive them? And I don't think any South African has it in them to unalive another human being simply because of the race. That would have been done a long time ago. This sounds to me like how the British, when they got to Haiti, they called the Haitians cannibals. But they never ate the British people. And the British people, when they found the Haitians on the island, there were 3.5 million of them. In 11 years down the line, they reduced them to 300,000. 3 million gone. And you tell me who's a cannibal here? So, of course, when Donald Trump opened that corridor for the 49 plus white Afrikaners to go to the United States and fast track them into the citizenship of America, South Africans celebrated. When I say South Africans celebrated, I'm saying South Africans of all races. They were like, thank goodness, good riddance to bad rubbish. Because many, and when I say many, I'm talking the majority of white people in this country. They said rubbish. We live. The honest ones will tell you flat out on your face that we live better as white people in South Africa than the native. So those that want to go based on a lie, they deserve everything. It's coming to them. I agree with that. So it was quite clear that when the 49 Afrikaners arrived in the United States, they discovered that the land of milk and honey, or let's say the American dream, it turned out it woke up to the reality of a new global order. And that's a nightmare. The new global order is a nightmare. Jobs are being shedded. They are not being created. Food prices are hiking up. They are not decreasing. Economies are collapsing. They are not being built. Oligarchy, they have themselves filled with making sure that they make more billions of dollars while the small guy is crushed. They are discovering also that in America, with the promise of a job, Americans are unemployed, some of them. And also when it comes to housing, 750,000 plus American citizens are homeless. So where are you going to get that job, that house, piece of land, and income, and schooling, even prosperity that Donald Trump promised them, and yet Americans are not supposed to get that. What American is going to allow that to happen? That somebody that they don't even know just come in front of them and benefit what's supposed to be theirs, and they must roll over and play dead? Not the Americans that I know. So like I said, because of that viral video of a former South African who is now an American citizen, people started donating just to keep them afloat. Some of them are offered office cleaning jobs. Others are offered gardening. Others are offered cleaning the streets. Others are even cooks or restaurant waiters. Stuff that in South Africa would be done by black people. They would never be caught dead doing any of those in South Africa. Ever. And I'm talking about the 49 plus Afrikaners that left South Africa under that lie and propaganda. And do you know what I think is a big kicker for them? Is an Afrikaans man watching his wife in the morning dress up in a maid's dress, going to be a maid in somebody else's house. Something that he used to see from his black maid back in South Africa. Now it's his wife doing it. All because of lies. So yeah, the 49 plus Afrikaners, allegedly they are stuck and stranded in the United States. Some of them, when they write to families, they indicate that they regret their decision. They want to come back home. But some of them are afraid that if they did, that would mean they'll have to publicly admit that they lied. Some are afraid of legal repercussions for the lies that they've told the world. Either way, good riddance to bad rubbish. That's all I'm going to say. And they deserve it, by the way. And just my last point. Because some of them say, as long as there are black people in South Africa, they will always be in danger. Well, black South Africans make 80% of the population, and we're still around. So that means the threat lingers. And it looks like it's going to be so for hundreds of millions of years. So, well, enjoy America. That's all I'm going to say. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you feel sorry for these guys? Do you think they made the right decision? And about the YG side that never existed, do you think this is karma coming back to say you lied? And why is Donald Trump ignoring them is what I would like to know as well. But other than that, please don't leave the video without liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, and I'll see you next time in a new video. Goodbye.